Alright, here we go. So the mass fatality event that I chose was the Oklahoma City bombing. I really first heard about this through a podcast called the Lights Out podcast, and they did about an hour episode over this, which is actually pretty interesting. So when did this happen, this horrible event? So this happened on April 19th, 1995. This was planned and carried out by ex-Army soldier Timothy McVeigh. Major impact on the community. So with any mass fatality event, there's going to be those who have been thrust into the grieving process. So the emotional loss the community was thrust into. And then the big one was dealing with the realization that terrorism can also be acted out by individuals from our own country, not just from other, not just from people from other countries, like the case of 9/11. Okay, and here we have a picture of Timothy McVeigh, man who got in his head, thought it'd be okay to do something like this. How it impacted the local funeral directors. So with any loss comes a grieving family, and now think about all the grieving individuals that came from the incident. Dealing with a family that is grieving can be very stressful at times, and that's just with a regular death, like old age, sickness, not a death that came from a terroristic act like this. So the call volume was coming in, the stress the funeral directors had to deal with, knowing that these families are hurting beyond repair, just dealing, we're all human, so we all grieve, knowing that, after we lose a loved one. And so just imagine those families that were thrown into this grieving process because of this incident. That's a lot of families, and it's hard, especially as funeral directors, where we have to maintain this level of professionalism. But my next point, we got the mental toll that this event has caused the funeral directors is unimaginable. But like I said, they're already tired from their normal day-to-day responsibilities. I would say that it's safe to say that after this attack happened, that some of those funeral directors retired or quit practicing altogether. I mean, I know I'm not a licensed director yet, and I'm just a provisional, but some of the stuff that I have seen has been enough to make me think twice about the career I'm in right now. What outside resources were used? I would say that not only local funeral homes were used, but funeral homes from around the surrounding areas had to come in and help. Not every funeral home is fully staffed, so I wouldn't be surprised that the funeral homes called relatives or close friends to come in and assist with the situation. I know one of the locations that for the funeral homes that I work for, I know that one of the locations, they will actually bring in a friend or so to help with visitations and everything. So whenever it comes to a situation like this big, yeah, I do not put it past that some of the funeral homes possibly called people who didn't work for the funeral homes but asked them for help. So like when COVID hit 2 years ago, funeral homes were having to use refrigerated vehicles to help store the victims until they were properly identified. And had arrangements made for them. The aftermath funeral director. As I stated previously, I believe that some of the funeral directors needed a break or quit entirely. There is already not enough help for our industry when it comes to our mental health, because no one really knows what exactly we are/have been going through. And I think that needs to change, because your regular therapist isn't going to know what it's like to deal with a grieving family or multiple grieving families at once, and then having to see what we see sometimes on first calls and everything, then having to do what we do back in the prep room. So the amount of depression that can come from an attack like this is unmeasurable. Most funeral directors get burnt out. I know, just thinking about if I was on that scene, I'd be pretty stressed. So here we have a map or a timeline of what happened. So leave that up there for a little bit longer. Alright, so this next slide that I'm about to show does have 3 pictures that do contain blood, so I just want to put in a little warning for graphic images ahead. Alrighty, that is my slideshow.